The Reckoning of Shadows. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council's central station gleamed against the backdrop of 1,000,000,000,000 stars, each one a testament to the unity that had persisted for 45 millennia. Ambassador Zirana's tentacles rippled with satisfaction as she gazed upon the assembled representatives, 317 species, all living in unprecedented harmony. Today marks the 45,000th anniversary of the Great Peace, the Archon declared, its bioluminescent form pulsing with ceremonial colors, an era that began with the mysterious event we call the Void Century. Every being present knew the story. Humanity, once the galaxy's youngest spacefaring race, had vanished without explanation. Their colonies empty, their worlds abandoned but pristine, their technology locked behind quantum encryptions that even now resisted all attempts at access. They had simply left. Perhaps it is fitting, the Archon continued, that we have prospered without them. Their warlike nature, their endless curiosity, their refusal to accept limitations, all these traits might have disrupted our harmony. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Void Century had become mythology, humanity reduced to cautionary tales told to younglings about the dangers of unchecked ambition. Then the lights flickered. Every sensor in the station screamed simultaneously. Gravitational waves, unlike anything in recorded history, cascaded through local spacetime. The fabric of reality itself seemed to shiver. "Multiple contacts," shrieked the Valori sensor operator, her crystalline form resonating with panic. "Edge of the galaxy, Sector 97 Alpha. Energy signatures are impossible. They're reading as both there and not there, existing in quantum superposition on a macroscopic scale." The main viewing portal transformed into a tactical display. What appeared shocked even the ancient Archon into silence. Ships, thousands upon thousands of them, materialized from seemingly nowhere. But these weren't emerging from hyperspace or any known form of FTL travel. They were unfolding as if reality itself was origami being carefully opened to reveal what had been hidden within its creases. The vessels defied conventional design philosophy. They appeared to be constructed from crystallized spacetime, their hulls rippling with equations that hurt to perceive directly. Each ship was unique, yet they moved with perfect synchronization, like notes in a cosmic symphony only they could hear. "Attempting communication on all frequencies," reported Communications Chief Hector, his 6 arms dancing across holographic interfaces. No response. "Wait, there's something. It's not a transmission, it's everywhere." In the cosmic background radiation itself. The message was simple, broadcast in 317 languages simultaneously, one for each member species of the Galactic Council. "Humanity has returned. We request formal audience with the Galactic Council. We bring warning. We bring hope. We bring change." Ambassador Kreltok of the Zanari hegemony, renowned for his diplomatic prowess and tactical mind, volunteered immediately. "I will go. If this is truly humanity, we need answers. The galaxy deserves to know why they left and why they return now." His shuttle, the finest diplomatic vessel in the Council fleet, seemed primitive as it approached the human armada. The ships parted like a living thing, creating a corridor that led to what appeared to be their flagship, though ship seemed an inadequate word. It was more like a mobile piece of infrastructure, a city-sized construct that bent space around it in ways that made navigation instruments weep digital tears. As Kreltok's shuttle entered the flagship's hangar, if a space that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously could be called a hangar, he felt the first stirrings of true fear he'd experienced in centuries. The beings that greeted him were human in shape only. They stood at the intersection of flesh and light, their forms shifting between states of matter as casually as others might blink. Their eyes held depths that seemed to peer into parallel universes, and when they spoke, their voices carried harmonics that resonated in dimensions Kreltok couldn't fully perceive. "Ambassador Kreltok," the lead figure said, and despite everything, there was warmth in that impossible voice. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, though the concept of individual identity has become fluid for us. We apologize for our long absence, but it was necessary." "Necessary?" Kreltok's throat sacs pulsed with indignation. "You abandoned the galaxy, left us to wonder if you had destroyed yourselves or worse, if you would return as conquerors." Admiral Chen's form solidified slightly, becoming more recognizably human. A courtesy, Kreltok realized. We left because we discovered something. A truth about our galaxy, about reality itself, that we couldn't face unprepared. We've spent 45,000 years, though time moves differently where we've been, preparing ourselves and building what we'd need. What truth? Kreltok demanded. The Admiral gestured, and the space around them transformed into a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. But this wasn't the galaxy Kreltok knew. This showed layers, dimensions folded atop each other like sheets of paper. Our galaxy exists in a bubble, Chen explained, her voice carrying the weight of eons, a pocket of stable space-time in an ocean of chaos. And that bubble has been shrinking, slowly, imperceptibly, but inevitably. In perhaps another 1,000 years, maybe less, it would have collapsed entirely. That's impossible, Kreltok protested. Our scientists would have detected. Your scientists, with respect, can only perceive 3 spatial dimensions and 1 of time. The collapse is happening in dimensions you can't see, can't measure. We discovered this by accident, through humanity's reckless experimentation with quantum consciousness uploads. One of our researchers accidentally projected their awareness outside our dimensional bubble. Chen's form flickered, and for a moment Kreltok saw her as she truly was now. A being of pure thought given shape, existing across multiple dimensions simultaneously, her consciousness a distributed network spanning realities. What they found drove them mad, but not before they transmitted their findings. There are things outside our bubble. Entities of pure entropy that feed on ordered reality. They've been slowly consuming the walls of our dimensional prison, and when those walls finally fail, you ran, Kreltok accused, though his certainty was crumbling. We evolved, Chen corrected. We knew that no single species, no matter how advanced, could face what's coming. So we left, found ways to transcend our physical limitations, to exist in the spaces between dimensions. We became something new, something that could fight back, and we built these. She gestured to the fleet surrounding them. Each vessel is a dimensional anchor, capable of reinforcing the walls of our reality bubble. But more than that, they're weapons designed to fight entities that exist outside conventional physics. Why return now? Kreltok asked, his mind reeling from the implications. Because the collapse is accelerating. We have perhaps 50 standard years before the first major breach. We need the Council's help, not to fight as you couldn't comprehend the battleground, but to evacuate.
To prepare.
To preserve what can be preserved while we hold the line. Kreltok's sensory organs detected movement throughout the human fleet. They were deploying, taking positions around the galaxy's edge like sentinels. You're saying our entire understanding of reality is wrong? Not wrong, Chen said gently. Incomplete. Like describing a sphere by only looking at a circle. The Council has maintained peace for 45,000 years, a remarkable achievement. But that peace was built on ignorance of the true nature of our universe. And if we refuse to believe you? Chen's form solidified completely, becoming fully human for just a moment. A young woman with kind eyes and an expression of infinite sadness. Then in 50 years, when reality itself begins to unravel, when causality becomes suggestion and physics becomes philosophy, you'll understand why we had to become what we are. Why we had to leave our humanity behind to save humanity itself. The Admiral touched a panel that materialized from quantum foam. We're transmitting all our data to the Council. Everything we've learned, everything we've seen. Review it. Verify it with your own instruments. We'll show you how to build sensors that can perceive the hidden dimensions. And then decide, will you trust us to be your shields against the dark, or will you face the ending of all things unprepared? As Kreltok's shuttle departed, his mind buzzing with impossible knowledge, he watched the human fleet continue its deployment. Each ship took position with mathematical precision, forming a pattern that hurt to perceive in its completeness, a mandala written in starships and space-time. The humans had returned, but they had not come home. They had come to stand guard at the gates of reality itself, and somewhere, beyond the walls of dimensional space that protected their small bubble of existence, things that had no names and obeyed no laws of physics continued their patient, inexorable approach. The great peace was ending. The great war for existence itself was about to begin. The shattered veil, the Galactic Council's emergency session had been in continuous debate for 7 cycles. The data humanity provided was undeniable. Their sensors, once upgraded with human modifications, revealed the horrifying truth. Reality itself was wounded, bleeding into dimensions that shouldn't exist. and the wounds were growing. Show them the memory, Admiral Chen suggested to her fellow transcended humans as they observed the Council's deliberations from 17 different dimensional angles simultaneously. Marcus Cole, once humanity's leading physicist, now something beyond simple categorization, projected his consciousness into the Council chamber. His appearance caused immediate silence. He manifested as a living equation, his form constantly solving and resolving itself. Distinguished beings, he began, his voice a harmony of mathematical certainties. I was the first to breach the dimensional barrier. Let me show you what lies beyond. Reality flickered. And suddenly every being in the Council experienced the memory directly, the sensation of falling upward through layers of reality, each one stranger than the last. A realm where thought preceded existence, where entropy ran backward, where causality was merely a suggestion. And then, the Devourers, entities of pure negation, unbeings that existed solely to reduce complexity to nothing. They moved through dimensions like sharks through water, drawn to the bright beacon of organized reality that was our galaxy. The worst part was their patience. They had been feeding on the edges of our reality bubble for millions of years, content to slowly digest the boundaries until the meal within was exposed. They were not evil. Such concepts meant nothing to them. They simply were, and their existence was antithetical to ours. The memory ended, leaving several council members in various states of distress. The hive mind of the collective actually fragmented momentarily, its billion voices crying out in unified terror before reasserting control. We have 43 years, Chen announced, her distributed consciousness calculating probabilities across infinite parallel scenarios. The first major breach will occur in the Sagittarius arm. We've already begun construction of the primary defense grid, but we need the Council's resources for the evacuation protocols. Evacuation? The Archon's form flickered with confusion. To where? If our entire galaxy is threatened, not evacuation in space, Chen clarified. Evacuation in dimensional depth. We've prepared sanctuary realities. Pocket dimensions we've cultivated and stabilized. They're smaller than our galaxy, but they're deeper, harder for the Devourers to reach. We can save approximately 60% of the galaxy's population if we begin now. Councillor Vrex of the warrior caste stood, his chitinous form radiating skepticism. You ask us to abandon our homes based on your word alone? No, Chen replied, and suddenly space itself twisted. Where empty void had been, a massive construct materialized. A ring structure the size of a small moon composed entirely of crystallized mathematics. This is a dimensional anchor. We've already deployed 17,000 of them around the galaxy's perimeter. Would you like to see what happens when we activate one? Without waiting for permission, the ring ignited. Reality solidified around it, becoming more real somehow. Colors became more vivid, physics became more absolute, and every being present felt a sense of rightness. Each anchor reinforces local space-time, Marcus Cole explained. His equation form solving complex calculations in real time. But they do more than that. They're weapons. When the Devourers come, these anchors will force them to manifest in our dimensional framework where we can fight them. How do you fight something that negates existence itself? Asked Ambassador Zirana, her tentacles coiled in fear. Chen's response was to summon another human, or what had once been human. This one appeared as a warrior philosopher, existing in a state of controlled combat with itself, every moment a victory against entropy. I am General Keiko Tanaka, the figure announced, her voice carrying the echoes of a billion battles fought in dimensions without names. We fight them by becoming paradoxes ourselves. We've learned to exist in states of controlled contradiction, being and not being simultaneously. When a devourer attempts to negate us, we're already negating ourselves, creating a feedback loop that damages them. You've fought them? The Archon leaned forward, bioluminescence pulsing rapidly. In the spaces between spaces, yes. Small skirmishes testing their nature and ours. We've lost much. Of the million humans who attempted transcendence, only 100,000 succeeded. The rest ceased. Not died, but ceased. Removed from all possible timelines. The Council fell silent, contemplating the magnitude of sacrifice. 3 years passed in preparation. The galaxy transformed. Entire civilizations relocating to dimensional sanctuaries, others choosing to stand and fight. The human fleet grew, not through construction but through folding. each ship containing infinite versions of itself, existing in quantum superposition until needed. Then came the day the first wound opened. It started as a whisper in the cosmic background radiation, a place where the universe forgot how to universe. Stars near the breach didn't explode or collapse. They simply stopped being stars, becoming suggestions of light that remembered they once had purpose. All anchors, activate, Chen commanded. Her consciousness spread across the entire defense network. 17,000 rings of crystallized mathematics ignited simultaneously, creating a web of reinforced reality around the galaxy. The breach, instead of expanding infinitely as it should have, struck the web and recoiled, and through the wound, they came. The devourers were everything and nothing, existing in states that language couldn't describe. They moved through dimensions like water through a net, but the anchors forced them to partially manifest, to become somewhat real. The battle was fought on levels that normal matter couldn't perceive. Humans who had become living weapons engaged entities of pure negation in combat that violated every law of physics. When they clashed, reality itself screamed, creating new particles that shouldn't exist, forging new laws of physics that lasted nanoseconds before being corrected. General Tanaka led a contingent directly into the breach, existing in 17 dimensions simultaneously as she fought. Her strategy was elegant in its madness. She forced the devourers to negate her attacks, but her attacks were themselves acts of negation, creating loops of contradiction that trapped them in logical paradoxes. The membrane is stabilizing, reported the collective, its billion minds processing data in parallel. The breach is actually closing. It was working, but at a cost. Each human warrior who fell didn't die. They were edited out of existence, their entire timeline erased as if they had never been. The only evidence of their sacrifice was the absence itself, gaps in causality that would never heal. For 17 days, the battle raged across dimensions most of the galaxy couldn't see. The Council species could only watch their sensors in awe as humanity held the line, their transcended forms dancing between existence and void, each movement a calculated risk against oblivion itself. Then, on the 18th day, something unexpected happened. One of the devourers communicated, not in words or thoughts, but in pure concept, broadcast directly into the consciousness of every transcended human simultaneously. Query, resistance, unexpected, examination, required. Purpose? Chen, despite existing as a distributed consciousness across multiple dimensions, felt something almost like surprise. They could think. They could question. Her response was broadcast not just to the devourer, but to the entire galaxy. Response: existence, preferred. Cessation, rejected. Coexistence. The pause that followed lasted both forever and no time at all. The devourers, it seemed, had never encountered resistance that could communicate. They had consumed countless realities, but none had ever spoken back. Analysis paradox. Interesting. Study. Warranted. Proposal. What followed was the most bizarre negotiation in the history of any reality. Humanity, speaking for the galaxy, offered the devourers something they had never considered: controlled feeding. Sections of space-time that were already dying, dimensions that were collapsing naturally, offered as sustenance in exchange for leaving inhabited reality alone. The devourers, beings of pure negation who had never known anything but consumption, discovered something new: curiosity. These paradox beings who fought them were interesting. They created conflicts in the devourer's nature that had never existed before. Agreement, acceptable. Boundaries, established. Observation, continuing. The breach sealed, but not completely. Instead, it became a doorway, a regulated passage between realities. The devourers retreated, but they watched, studied, learned, and humanity stood guard. Their transcended forms the bridge between existence and void. Is it over? Kreltok asked, standing before the restored council, his form aged by the stress of recent years. No, Chen replied, her consciousness finally coalescing into a single form for the first time in years. But it's different now. We're not just fighting for survival. We're teaching them that existence has value, that complexity and consciousness create something worth preserving. And if they change their minds, General Tanaka materialized beside Chen, her warrior form still ready for battles in dimensions without names. Then we'll be ready. Humanity left to become something that could protect what we loved. We sacrificed our simple existence to become guardians of existence itself. The Archon rose, its ancient form pulsing with colors of respect. The galaxy owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. No debt, Chen said. And for a moment she was fully human again, just a woman who had given up everything to save everything. We're still human in the ways that matter. We protect, we explore. We refuse to accept that anything is impossible. We just do it across more dimensions now. As the Council dispersed to spread the news across the galaxy, humanity's fleet maintained its vigil. They had become something beyond their origins, not gods, but gardeners of reality itself, tending to the boundaries between existence and void, ensuring that life in all its forms could continue to flourish. The Great Peace had ended, but in its place came something greater, the Great Understanding. The galaxy now knew it existed in a vast ocean of strangeness, but it was not alone. Humanity stood watch at the edges of reality, transformed but not lost, different but still devoted to the same principle they had always held, the absolute refusal to let the light go out. In the depths of space, where dimensions folded in on themselves and reality became negotiable, the transcended humans continued their eternal vigil. They had left as explorers. They returned as guardians. And in the space between existence and void, they had found their purpose. The galaxy would never be the same. But then again, neither would the void that surrounded it. For humanity had taught the darkness itself to question, to wonder, to perhaps even dream. And in that teaching, in that bridge between being and unbeing, lay the seed of something entirely new. A future where even entropy itself might learn to create, rather than simply consume. The story of humanity's return was ending. The story of what humanity had become was just beginning.